My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. This is number 52 in our thematic study of 1 Corinthians 15 and the resurrection. Paul said, "Then comes the end, when he shall deliver up the kingdom to the Father." Now the great question is, what is the end? Is it the end of time? The Bible nowhere teaches that. Is it the end of the Christian age? The Bible nowhere teaches the end of the Christian age. To the reverse of that, it says Christ's kingdom, Christ's rule, Christ's reign on his throne has no end. Luke 1, 32 to 35. So whatever the end is, in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, it is not the end of the Christian age. It's not the end of the current age. Secondly, we are sometimes taught by commentators, for instance, in my formal public debate with David Hester in July 2016, right here in Ardmore, Oklahoma, Dr. Hester affirmed, if Don Preston is right, and if the Lord came in AD 70, then he's no longer ruling and he's no longer reigning. Now he's appealing directly to 1 Corinthians 15 and his idea that at his coming, Christ abdicates his rule. He stops ruling and reigning. Now, folks, I've got to tell you, as we have already seen, go back and watch those on the relationship between Christ and the church in regard to the wedding. At his wedding, Christ would take the church. He would marry the church. Well, there is one of Jesus' parables that illustrates perfectly. It is a beautiful harmony between the parable and 1 Corinthians 15, and it demonstrates beyond a shadow of a doubt that Jesus would not abdicate his rule or his reign. In Luke chapter 19, Jesus had been teaching. Zacchaeus had been saved, and when the crowd heard Jesus, he understood that they are murmuring among themselves evidently, and they believed that the kingdom of God was about to appear immediately. Greek word parakrima. So he told a parable of a certain rich man, now watch this, who went into a far country there to receive a kingdom for himself and to return. Now, what would he receive in the far country? The kingdom. What would he do? He would return. Ask yourself the question, would he return to abdicate and to give away the kingdom that he had received in the far country? See, you'll have to excuse me, but that doesn't even make good nonsense. And that's verified, by the way, right here in the text. Now notice this. He said to them, a certain nobleman went into the far country to receive for himself a kingdom and to return. So he called 10 of his servants and delivered to them 10 minas and said to them, do business until I come. But his citizens hated him, sent a delegation after him saying, we will not have this man to rule over us. Now this is taken from a real life story. When Herod the Great died, his son Archelaus, who was a horrible person, went to Rome to receive the kingdom. The citizens of Jerusalem sent an embassage there asking the emperor not to give him the kingdom. Well, watch this. And so it was that when he returned, having received the kingdom, okay, he went away to receive the kingdom, and he came back with what? The kingdom. Having received the kingdom, he then commanded that those servants to whom he had given the money to be called to him, that he might know how much every man had gained by trading. And they explained to him, well, I've increased or I've decreased or whatever. And he destroyed those servants who said they would not have him to rule over them. Now, remember that in Matthew 25, 31 and following, when the Son of Man shall come in the glory of his kingdom, then shall he sit on the throne of his glory. He would go away to receive the kingdom. He would return. At his return, no abdication, no surrendering of the rule. Instead, he would sit on the throne of his glory, of his rule, of his reign. Folks, the idea that Christ was going to surrender the kingdom is completely false. Matthew 25 has him sitting and ruling on his kingdom, not quitting the throne. Luke chapter 19 has him exercising the authority of the kingdom which he had gone into the far country to receive, and he exercised that authority when he returned and judged those servants. 1 Corinthians 15, Christ had ascended to the right hand, was seated at the right hand of the Father, ruling and reigning, and would come to do what? To put down his enemies, the last enemy. Perfect harmony. No abdication, no surrender, no cessation of rule. Christ rules forever and forever, age without end. Thank you so much for joining me for this morning's morning musings. Don't forget, in my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings, I have an extensive discussion of Christ and the kingdom, Christ and his bride, and whether or not he ever divorces his new covenant bride. Get yourself a copy of this. Yes, we have more, so we'll see you on the flip side.